Tiger, you are the big hunter behind all of this that's happening here today.
Well, thank you very much,
Jennylyn.
Jennylyn. I sure appreciate the opportunity to just tell you, this is a dream come true for me and my two sons, Cody and Trevor. We have got a couple of cars that we've had in the family for a number of years, and we've liked them. And I sell real estate in Saratoga, and I see a lot of homes with a lot of nice cars throughout the valley. In Saratoga, Los Gatos, I found out there's a lot of people like me that have great cars and have great houses. And so I wanted to provide a local, convenient venue for everybody to come and share their great cars.
So is that where you got the idea?
Well, that's exactly right. I've been to other car shows, and I've had to get in my car and go to Pleasanton, go to San Jose, or even go far away to Los Angeles or someplace to show my car. So I just decided I'd much rather do it right here in my hometown of Saratoga.
So, how long have you been doing this?
Well, this is the third annual Saratoga Classic Car Show, and third time seems to be the charm. We've got KRTY advertising or broadcasting live from the show today. We're on the front page of the Campbell Reporter, the Los Gatos News, the Saratoga News. Everybody's finally getting it that people like cars.
Excuse me, what about the Jennylyn show?
Well, the Jennylyn show, I'll tell you, I'm going to start watching it.
I will make sure that you start watching it. So before this day is over, I was wondering if you wanted to point out which cars I want to make sure I get. They're all wonderful, but I can't get 150 cars.
Yes. Well, you know what? I'm glad you asked. The one you were just sitting in a few minutes ago, the yellow Rolls-Royce, has got a great story. And you know, that's what it's all about, is a car with a story. I met my wife in my car. The favorite story I have about my car is that I met her at a dance at a college campus, and we went to the student parking lot, and I said, pick a car. And she looked over for about a minute, about 100 cars, and she goes, okay, wise guy, that red one over there. Well, that was my car. So we walked over, and she was surprised that I had the keys to it. There's always a great story behind cars. And my two sons took my red Trans Am 455 Super Duty Firebird to their high school proms. They have stories to tell about their experiences in a car. It's funny how a car kind of takes on its own life.
I'm sure the cars have quite a few stories to tell also.
If they could only talk, as they say.
I know, thank God they weren't given vocal cords, right?
I think you're right, but people love the looks and they love the way they sound.
Well guys, all you single guys out there that are looking for women, go get yourself some nice looking cars. Walk them in the parking lot and ask them which car that would be their pick, and you'll be a winner.
Absolutely, I was, so good luck to you guys.
I am in love with this car for many, many reasons. Neil, I understand this car more than all the cars here today. It's got some really fascinating history. Do you want to tell me what makes this car so special, apart from its beauty?
Well, it has some features that I've never seen on other cars, such as a bar in the front and another cocktail cabinet in the rear compartment. It has the movie history from the movie called The Yellow Rolls-Royce. It was owned by a wealthy family in Belgium when it was first made, and they were drilling oil in the Ukraine, and they were driving back and forth to Russia, and there's a blue lens lamp on the windshield post, and when they were in Russia they could get a police escort wherever they went.
Wow, my God, what a life that must have been. Just your car gets you a police escort.
Yes, very special family.
Well, I noticed there's a poster on the right-hand side of this car in the front of some women that really mean a lot to me because I enjoy them frequently on movies that I watch. Can you tell us the story with this?
Well, the movie was entitled The Yellow Rolls-Royce. The first episode took place in England, where Rex Harrison bought the car for he and his wife's 10th wedding anniversary. Her name was Jeanne Monroe. She was a very famous French actress. The following day, their horse was racing at Ascot. He went looking for her, found her in the back seat of the car making love to his assistant. So he immediately returned the car to the dealership the next day. It ended up in Italy, and Shirley MacLaine saw it in a dealer's showroom, had to have it. Her boyfriend, George Scott, bought it for her. George had to go back for mafia business in Brooklyn, and she met Alan DeLon, and they made love in the back seat. And then they sold the car and returned to the States. The car was then purchased by Ingrid Bergman, and she was on her way to visit the Prince of Yugoslavia, and she met Omar Sharif on the way, gave him a ride into Yugoslavia, and they made love in the back seat.
It's a loving car. When did you buy this car?
I bought it in the late 80s, and it was terribly run down after the movie.
And after all that loving in the back seat?
Yes. So I took every nut and bolt apart, and 13 years later, I got it back together, and now I drive it.
It's so beautiful. I mean, a lot of the cars here today are beautiful, but this car is my favorite, just because of its history. And I'm sure all the cars have a history, you know, because they're very old cars, but these, like I said, these are people that I've really admired and feel like I got to know through the movies. So what do you want me to know about this car that I didn't ask you, that people should know?
Well, would you like to know the engine displacement?
Well, go ahead and tell me. I don't know that it will make sense to me, but I'm sure it will to somebody watching.
No, I'm sure you're not a bit interested in that. But no, that's the essence of the history of the car. The rest of the interesting parts are mostly technical.
Do you think the reason you were able to buy it, or that it was even for sale to where you could go get it, was because it was so run down and it had run its course in Hollywood?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
A friend of mine had it, and I bought it from him in Tampa, Florida. He had a very large collection of cars, so I'm sure he didn't miss it very much.
Well, thank you, Neil. I am so happy that you took the time to share the details of this beauty with me, and now I'm going to go and sit in the back seat. It's just such a pleasure to sit in this beautiful vehicle, and I just love the interior. Andre and Ralph, you guys own this beautiful car behind me.
Yep, it's a 1937 Rolls-Royce Hooper Sports Saloon. There were 1,200 of these chassis made by Rolls-Royce, and about 6 or 7 Hooper Sports Saloon bodies developed. This is an original car. It's never been restored, so it actually earns extra points in a concourse because of the total original nature of the car. No leather's been restored, no paint. The engine is completely original, and makes the car a very interesting car. Well, this car was originally purchased by a lawyer, a magistrate in England,
Okay.
and then it was brought over actually by Neil, the gentleman with the yellow Rolls-Royce. I purchased it from him in 1930. We've had some interesting personalities sitting in this car, but none that I can probably mention right now.
So tell me, you said there's a story behind this car.
Well, it's interesting that the car came here. Neil bought the car in England. He drove it for a while on a sort of a vacation, and then it came over here, and I had the car probably for about 6-7 years, and then I sold it. I had bought a car from Mel Brooks, one of his original, after he did Blazing Saddles, he had a yellow Corniche convertible.
Okay.
And I purchased that. We drove that for a while, and then for some reason I got sort of kind of car sick for this car, and I sold that Corniche and bought this car back. So the car has gone back and forth a couple of times. And that's sort of the you know, kind of the story behind it. I really had a love for this car. It's such a unique automobile and so original. And so now it's back in our family, and it's been back about 20 years or so.
Wow! So you weren't even born yet when this car was purchased into the family, right?
That's true. I'm not as old as the car is, that's for sure.
Thank you so much. Before we close this out, is there anything else you want us to know about your beautiful car?
No, I just want to know that if anyone wants to see the car, we're at other shows, and they're welcome even to sit in the car. We'd love to be able to share this car with as many people as possible.
I'm sitting in Ralph's beautiful mobile, and I wish they made cars like this still, because it's so beautiful, and I feel like I've been transformed into a different time. I feel very lucky that I get to sit in all of these beautiful cars. Roger, how long have you had this car?
I bought the car in 1986. It had been outside under a tarp in Western Canada for 12 years. And we got it roadworthy. We drove it to the World's Fair in Vancouver in 1986, and then we drove it to our home in Sunnyvale and tore it all apart.
So how did you find this car? It sounded like it was abandoned somewhere in Canada. How did you find it?
Actually, the sheriff in Penticton, British Columbia had possession of the car in some type of a divorce litigation for all these years. And it was advertised in a publication down here. I made a sealed bid on it, and much to my chagrin, I ended up winning the bid and had to go get the car.
You're a lucky guy. How often do you enter this car in a show?
Maybe 2 or 3 times a year. We had it at the Palo Alto Concours 2 weeks ago where it won a first place.
Congratulations!
And we drive it. We've never trailered it. It's been to Reno, it's been to Los Angeles, it's been to Tahoe, Monterey, and it's never been trailered, and it's a 25-year-old restoration.
How many times do you have to change parts? What type of maintenance are you dealing with here?
Mainly it's just polishing and cleaning, and the car's been very reliable since we restored it. When we restored it, we tore it completely apart, body off the frame, everything's new, re-chromed, replated, replaced. So kind of like restoring an old house.
So it's like a new car in an old shell.
Yeah, kind of like me.
I'm not going there, but I just am amazed at so many of these older cars. I try to understand why not just build a new car instead of buying an old one and replacing everything in it. Well, tell me about that.
Well, it's because the old cars have a certain class about them that they don't have anymore. You can look at a 56 Chrysler and it's got a personality, a 57 Chevy, they're all different. This car was built, Corvette was built in the early 50s, as well as the Thunderbird. This was Chrysler's answer to the Corvette, which was Chevrolet, and Thunderbird was Ford. This was Chrysler's answer. They had this big Hemi motor with 300 plus horsepower. They built it around this car, and they built it to go Daytona and Grand National racing with it, where they did extremely well. So these old cars, they take people of my age and take us back to when we were living in that era. And so it's kind of like old music.
I get that. So what has been your favorite experience with this car?
I think probably my favorite experience was getting the car up in Canada, getting it roadworthy, and driving it down from Canada in 1986. And this, this old car that was just barely hung together made the trip, and my girlfriend at the time, or was it it was my wife already. We drove it down. We had just a great 3-day trip driving the car back. That was just a wonderful trip.
That's amazing. So you were able to drive it back from Canada like it was?
Yeah, 1,700 miles. We got it roadworthy. We turned it over to the local Chrysler dealer for 3 days. He put new brakes on it, did this and that, and it drove back, and it drove fine. And we went to the World's Fair and drove around Vancouver for a couple of days and drove back. Yes, that was a great experience.
Do you continuously do work to it, or is this it now?
No, it's always kind of a work in progress. Something goes bad, you have to replace it, but normally nothing goes bad, but you're always polishing and cleaning. So you drive for a day, and then then you clean for a couple hours.
Is this your only car that you show at these fairs?
No, I have a really nice old 1959 Corvette that I show too.
And now I get to speak to my friend John. John, we met at the car show.
Right.
And since then you've been on my set, and we've talked about education.
Right.
And today I have the privilege of actually talking to you about your baby.
Well, thank you. We're glad you're here. The Saratoga Car Show has had a wonderful turnout, some nice people, and I'm really glad you could come.
Thank you for inviting us. I met some incredible people. Saw some beautiful cars with a lot of history, and yours is one of them. So do you want to tell us about your car?
Sure. It's a 1955 Imperial Newport Coupe. It was the first year that it was made as a separate mark, and it has a 392 Hemi engine, Chrysler Hemi engine, and we worked on it for about 8 years, and it's Tango Red and Oyster White, and it's a great driving car. And it's classic Americana, so we're very pleased to have it.
Well, fine. The sound is down. We can actually hear each other. So how long have you had it?
I've owned it for about 8 years, but we've only had it on the road for 2 years because the rest of that time was spent in a complete restoration. We found it in a barn. The mice had eaten out the insides and the rats had eaten the hoses, and so we had to do a total restoration. So we just took the engine out, took everything out of the car, did a new interior, new paint. It was a long process.
Well, it seems like it was worth all of the work because it's such a beautiful car. And
we want to preserve these cars. You know, they're great drivers. They're a good piece of American history. You know, I'm a teacher and educator. I enjoy showing this car to students, and people learn about it. We take it into Auto Tech, and they say this is how they used to do it. So we're all about preserving the Imperials and the other older vehicles that you see here today.
I tell you, I just love the body style of the older cars. I am not crazy about some of the newer designs, but the old cars are definite classics for many, many reasons.
Well, this was done by Virgil Exner, and you'll see we've got gun sight taillights, we've got what's called the egg crate grille, we've got full radius wheel wells. So this was a very radical car. When it came out in '55, it was the most expensive car sold in the United States. It cost more than Lincolns, it cost more than Cadillacs, because they were establishing it as a prestige brand.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I am now speaking with Mr. Dick Tuttle, and he has a car that I've never seen before. Most of the cars we've seen today I have heard of or seen before, but not Mr. Tuttle's car. Dick, thank you for allowing me to learn about your car. Is this a car?
I call it a car. The state calls it a motorcycle because it only has 3 wheels and it's small weight.
Now, where did you get it?
I got it in San Francisco, where it was shipped with a load of antique furniture from England, and the receiver of the shipment thought it was a joke. They stuck it in there because it was in terrible condition, and he gave it to a friend who collected those kinds of things, and I eventually bought it from him.
So was it meant to be a joke?
I kind of thought it was a joke, but it was so funny. I knew about the car, and I never really wanted one with those little tiny 5-inch wheels and stuff. I said, who would ever want something like that? But when I got the opportunity to get one, I snapped it up, and then I've been with it ever since.
Do you mind if I ask what you bought it for?
I paid $400 for it.
Oh my God, $400!
Yes, that's about all it was worth at that moment. Because of the condition, but eventually one sold a few years ago in England at $54,000 in an auction.
Wow! So, what are your plans for it?
Just to drive around and enjoy it and keep it running. That's what I like to do.
Would you consider this to be a low-maintenance vehicle?
No, I would not. I think you got to keep busy to keep it on the road. It always requires something.
How far can you go in it?
I've driven like 30-40 mile trips. It has about a 200-mile range with the gas tank it has.
And so you have had it for how many years, you said?
I've had it, I think, about 16 years, but it took me to get everything together and to get it into this condition, I think about 11 years ago. It's been like this for about 11 years.
How heavy do you think this car is?
They weigh 200 pounds. They weigh less than the people inside often.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You must be so proud. Do you bring it to all the car shows?
I bring it to occasional shows, especially ones that feature this type of car, micro car shows. I'll have it next month in Monterey, and they have a special show for this type of car.
Do you have other cars that you collect, or is this it?
I have others. I have 3 3-wheelers. I have two other British 3-wheelers, a Morgan and a Reliant.
Do you take a different one to each show?
Sometimes. Depends on what the emphasis of the show is. This is the most popular one.
It is popular. It's the first car that caught my attention. There's some beautiful cars over there, high-end cars. And I walked by them and thought, oh, great cars. But I saw your car, and I stopped and took a very investigative approach because I'd never seen one like it before. So thank you so much. I am speaking with Laura Zimmerman, and she is the owner of this purple car behind me. What type of car is it?
It's a Plymouth Barracuda.
And if you look at Laura, she's just the chick, you know. She's got the matching shirt, matching toenails.
Oh, well, you have to come as a whole package.
I agree completely. So tell us about this car and how did you get involved with this?
Well, my dad and I actually built this car about 15 years ago together. It's kind of a father-daughter project, and he's helped me a whole lot. And finished it about 10 years ago. We take it to Hot August Nights in Reno all the time, and he lives in Saratoga, and he told me about this car show, and I figured it would be a nice time to bring it out.
What is it about this particular car, or do you just like cars?
Well, my dad has always been a car person, so I kind of grew up with a lot of cars, and I always liked the style of the Cuda, and of course it's purple, so it's perfect, and that's exactly what I wanted. So we worked really hard and finally completed it and got a great result.
How long ago did you guys get the car and start working on it?
Oh, probably about 18 years ago.
So how old is the car?
It's a 1970, so the year I was born.
Wow, it's a 1970. Some of the people I've interviewed earlier have actually torn the whole car down and has everything new in it. Is that true of this car?
Pretty much, yes. It took many years and lots of money and a lot of time, a lot of patience.
So is this something you do for fun? Do you have several other cars, or is this it?
This is pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I heard this car's got a hell of a rev on it.
It certainly does.
So we're going to let you get in and give us that rev.
All right, you got it.
Okay.
That's what they've got. So if you have a head, you need a hat from Black Cat Hats. Peaches.
And I am at the Saratoga Cool Boys Club Car Show.
Cool Car Club of Saratoga.
Okay, actually, is that really the name?
That's really the name, yeah.
I thought you were just kidding me.
No, that's really it, yeah.
It's a cool name, I like it.
It is, yeah.
So Mr. Cramp is the owner of this beautiful Corvette behind his back, and he's going to tell us about it. How old is the car?
It's a 2010. I got it in 2010, and I sent it directly to the vet doctor in Melbourne, Florida, and he bolted up a supercharger for me. And it's a handful, but at the same time, very docile. You know, it's a fun car with 707 horsepower. It's you know, you got to be careful with it. If you get on the throttle, you need to make sure it's pointed straight. But it's good. Yeah, it's all good. Actually, he's named Genghis. You can see Genghis on his valve covers. License plate is Genghis, so it's he's a warrior, no doubt. Yeah.
Do you get to take it out and really drive it? Because I know we have speed limits all over the place in California.
Yeah, I normally drive it, well, around on the street. I was pretty nice with it. Occasionally, maybe a little over, but not much. It's just good fun. I'm planning on autocross it, maybe put on the track eventually, but I just ride around town for the most part. It's a nice car to drive.
So it's actually one of your toys. Do you have a lot of other cars that you display at these car shows, or is this it for you?
My wife drives an 05 convertible Corvette, and I've got another show car. It's a 1990 ZR1 convertible, which is one of none. Chevrolet never produced it. I didn't bring it today. I thought I'd bring this one instead. But yeah, Corvettes, me and Corvettes get along real well. Yeah.
I am speaking with Dave House. And Dave is the owner of these beautiful toys around me. They are truly beautiful. Dave, thank you for allowing me to do this.
Thank you. It's good to be here today.
It's good to be here. It's a beautiful day.
Gorgeous day in downtown Saratoga.
So, you're a member of this club?
Well, actually, I'm not a member of the club, but I know a lot of the members, and I'm a member of the community.
Okay, and so what got you started with these?
Well, I'm just kind of a car nut. I grew up in Michigan. My dad was in the automotive industry, and we were always rebuilding engines and working on cars in the garage, and so I've just always been into cars. So
we have done quite a bit of interviews today and covered lots of different cars, but yours are the only Ferraris here, am I right?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the other cars. The Ferrari is a 458 Italia. It's a 2012. Absolutely spectacular car. And the Bugatti is a 2010 Bugatti Veyron, and of course the fastest production car in the world.
Is it really?
It is 1,001 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, top speed of 253 miles an hour. It's one powerful car.
You know, so many people I've spoken to today have told me about all this incredible horsepower. Here's a question for you. Where do you get to drive it with all the speed limits on our freeways?
Well, you can get up to speed really quick on the on-ramp.
Great answer.
There's no law about acceleration. There's law about speed, but there's no law about how quickly you can get there. And so it'll get you up to the speed limit in one big hurry.
I believe you. So besides the cars that you have here today, do you have others at home?
Yes, I didn't bring my Lamborghini Murcielago LP640 Roadster this year. It's a yellow and black car that's often been here, but I decided since a Ferrari was new, I would bring the Ferrari this year together with the Bugatti.
Wow, so which car show are you going to be taking that one? I'll make sure I'm there so we can get some coverage on it.
This is the only car show that car is ever in. This is the only car show I participate in as a member of the community here in Saratoga. I live here in Saratoga. I try to support our local businesses and participate. This is the only one in the year.
Oh, and is that because it's too much of a hassle, or is it just because you don't particularly like putting them on display?
It's just time. You know, there's so little time and so many things to do and so many sports and activities I have that it's just a matter of taking the time.
Well, I don't want to abuse this privilege and take any more of your time, but I'm so grateful. However, before I go, what would you like people to know about your cars that I may not have asked you?
Well, I guess the fact that I drive them all. A lot of people keep their cars in their garage as pieces of art, and I drive mine all the time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dave, and I am hoping that I have your permission to sit in them. How do I look? Oh, it's hot.
Every night